I've got quite the experiment going. I'm going to be doing a color change. Changing to this color here. You can see this wall is going to need like a second coat. Got some thin spots. The experiment that I wanted to show you and what I'm going to do is I'm going to prime this wall here, and I'm not going to prime this wall here, and going to see what kind of a difference we get in the paint, just to show primer versus paint. So I got my paint tray. It's going to fill with my paint bucket here. So it also has a different function in the paint. That's to cover irregularities. So we'll see how it goes here. Alright. This one, the ceilings have been sealed already. And I think we got a couple little tiny spots to patch here. Just fill those in before we get started here. My outlets are getting a special cover, so I won't need to take them off. We're getting a mask cover. Here goes the primer. Here's another reason that this should really be primed, is that the bottom finish is a semi-gloss, and I'm going to be going to an eggshell, which is, eggshell is in between semi-gloss and flat. There's also solutions you can get to de-gloss the semi-gloss. Okay, so there's the rolling. The rest is just brushwork. I'm not going to get too close to the bottom yet because I've still got my floor finish coming in, and we'll just see how that goes. And I don't bring up any of that stuff that really needs to be swept out first. Okay, let that all dry, see how it goes. Get some paint ready to paint some walls here. We're gonna shake it out. It's already been shaken before I got it delivered, but I figured just to revive things, this is my paint shaker on the cheek. Alright, now ready to paint. Go grab my roller tray and my roller. Okay. Roller tray, my roller extension, dump some paint in the tray. It's a nice deep tray. Following up on my experiment of primer versus no primer. Okay. There's a nice little handy spout. Pretty good there. I still have some room to paint with. There we go. The end of this experiment continues. I've got my nice long paint extension here. This allows me to get up high and see and make sure it fits this handle. Yeah, that's gonna work. Okay. For my grills, I'm going to be just painting them gray. Painting this color for now. So I'm just going to go right over it. Yeah, it'll look fine. Be really careful for fire sprinklers. Any paint on those and you have to replace them, it'll increase the temperature at which the little filament there melts. You gotta make sure you don't get any paint on fire sprinklers. Go kind of sideways like this. Get as high up there as I can without touching the ceiling. That's the important part there. This part I can just reach with the brush. And now it's time to cut it in. Here goes the cutting in. I'll start at the baseboards here. So I like to keep my brush clean. Dip in at maybe a quarter of the way, quarter to half. I'm going to be putting some mask cover outlets over these outlets anyway, but I'll just make it nice clean edge. Cut around the outside. Okay. The baseboard I'm going to be painting white, so I just need to make sure the very top edge is all gray. Okay. Just gonna go along those. And right in that corner. The paint is still wet there, so it'll work good just to drag it over and drag it in. Nice and simple. Corner here. All right. Good. And this is the wall done without the primer. Okay. Now we're going to get into the stuff higher up there. What I do here is take the edge of my hole here and use that to hold my brush, and then I can just cut in around the items that I need to. This sprinkler here. Definitely do not want to get paint on that. So move that around there. Okay. And the opposite side. Yeah. And get in there with my paintbrush. Right up there. Okay. Really a bigger brush would probably be good here rather than this little 2-inch brush. I could use a 4-inch brush and really get more paint up there at time, but oh well. And I got this all on there a lot thicker, so what I can do is kind of drag down into that thicker paint and then just move it up as I move along. It'll allow me to not have to dip down so much into the paint below because I put it on so thick right here. So I'll take that back. I'll put it back up here. So. And it might take a little time, but it would take a lot of time with the ladder too, so either way. So it would take more time if you were masking it off and taping it off and all that too. Yeah, I kind of like doing one wall like this at a time. Gives your neck a break before doing the next one. It's a little tedious on the neck. Okay, I'll move right along to this next wall. Let's see how our primer is doing. Our primer's nice and dry, ready for the coating. So I'm gonna go ahead and paint it up, paint it in. And this is gonna give us the comparison here, as this wall's not primed and that wall's primed. Let's see how it goes. I'm gonna kind of try to avoid scratching that wall there. Oh, it's taking the paint nice and easy. I like the feel of it going on compared to the not primed wall. It does seem to have a little bit less pockets. Like leaving less pockets behind. Cut it in from there. It's a little bit easier, in my opinion, to cut in when the paint's still wet like this, because you can grab some of the wet paint, kind of take it with you, and not have to dip back in the can as much. And this I'm just going to get right to the top of the baseboard. The baseboard is going to be a different color. Right along this edge here. And again, this is our primed wall. This is our not primed wall, and you can see the stuff starting to bleed through on the not primed wall. Of course, to be fair, I've got one coat of primer, and now I'm putting one coat of paint on this wall. And on this side, I only have one coat of paint, so probably putting 2 coats of paint on this side is going to be equal to what I've got on this side. Over nice and neat along the edge of our ceiling here. You're going to see a lot of different techniques out there. Most painters, I think, prefer to cut in first and then to roll. I actually like to do it at the same time. The reason, I can give my reasons for it. I'm sure there's people who will disagree with me, but I'll give them to you anyway here. Reason number one is it's a lot easier on your body. It's a little bit more ergonomic because now you're stretching and you're bending down to dip in the roller. And then when you're crouching down or you're reaching up and stretching into the top of the ceiling, you're breaking all that up a little bit instead of like for an hour, or for 6 hours straight, or whatever, depending on the size of the place you're painting. But if you're cutting everything in first, then you're crouching for a long time and you're stretching up for a long time. But by rolling small areas and then cutting in those areas, you're breaking that up a bit. So you're not stretching and crouching continuously. The second reason, I'll show you here, is that it allows the paint to all have one skin. And also minimizes how much you're going to have to dip your brush, because if you've got wet paint here, I'll be able to kind of draw that paint from down below up into the cut-in area. So I don't have to dip my brush in the pan as much. Able to do all that area with one or two brush dips. And again, all of this is going to blend. There's not going to be any, it's going to be one skin. Now I'll cut in along the top of the baseboard. Again, this one I'm not painting the baseboard because I'm going to be painting that white to get the nice two-tone. But again, just a lot less stretching and crouching at the same time. And then I can just continue right along with the rolling. It's going to be that much easier. Sometimes the roller head wants to come off a little bit, and you're able to push it back on against that edge there. Gonna go right around our outlet cover here. I like this size roller. It's a 1 inch. It's good for texture. Doors and stuff, probably going to want to use a thinner roller so you can get a finer finish. Like for textured spots like this, thicker nap looks good. Okay. Now the cutting in. So I dip my brush once. Okay. Twice. If you pour a little paint in a cup, that'll speed things up too, because you could dip into it a lot easier instead of having to crouch down, but this isn't too bad. Corners are always kind of a little tricky spot. There we go. In this corner, we'll just draw it down. Okay, there's our not primed wall. Here's our primed wall. Now here I had some paint a little thicker right here, kind of on purpose, so I'd be able to use it and drag it, excuse me, and cut it in. Okay. And I'm just going to get the top of my baseboard. Again, that baseboard's going to be painted white. So no big deal. Alright. Now let that dry. Let them both dry. And after lunch, it's going to tell me prime, not primed. Primer and one coat, and not primed, one coat. We'll see how that goes. Let it all dry. Good to go. I'm going to continue on painting some more. But anyway, this will give us a good idea which way to go. Well, I'm losing some daylight here in order to show you, but this is the wall that's not primed. It's not completely dry yet, still got some wet spots. And this is the wall that was primed. So that's one coat of primer, one coat of paint, and that's just one coat of paint. Not too bad. Of course, I'm only going from like a yellow, this color here, to a gray. It's not a whole lot of color difference there. So I may be able to get away with not priming it. Okay, so here it is the day after it's had a chance to dry. Definitely got a few spots to paint over on both sides. This wall's primed, this wall's not primed. But for me, there's not really a difference in color, so not too much of a difference. You know, a lot of this is the sunlight's hitting this wall, so I'll try to stand here and you can see my shadow. Really, it didn't seem that the primer did too much of a difference here. This is the primered wall, and this is the non-primered wall. It's really not a big enough difference on this one. I think I'll not have to prime because my walls are yellow instead of gray. They're the color of this door here. And change into gray, but definitely got some spots here to touch up, or or go over, or do a second coat. But I think I'll get away with just rolling over those spotty spots. Anyway, that wall's not primed, and that wall is primed, and that's the difference on this color anyway. I imagine if one of the walls was red or something that has a stronger pigmentation, then the primer would have made a bigger difference. Also, any spots that are textured or anything like that, putting new texture or new drywall or new mud, new drywall compound, those would do better off with being primed first. But I think I won't need it for the regular walls. Good to go.